Hi, it's Rob from the Bush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to shade your models. Now I'm going to be using two Ultramarines Vitrix cards for this, so they have been base coated in Macragge Blue. I'm just going to be showing you the two different ways that you can do shades onto the model prior to adding all the colours. So the first thing I'm going to show is the brushes that I'm going to be using. This is two Citadel medium layer brushes. You can see here that the pair of them are both in a bit of a shabby state. The bottom one's a really old one, the middle one's quite worn, and then I've just added the third one to show you what they usually look like with the point on. And the reason I'm using these is because there's still life in the old brush yet. You can use them to do different parts. So this really knackered one is how I'm going to do the more widely spread shading, and the thinner medium one is going to be the one that's going to be doing this kind of shading here, where I'm just going into the details. So you can see there's plenty of detail on this. Both of them rather, have been based with Macragge Blue. They're actually sprayed with Army Painter Ultramarine Blue, which is a slightly different shade, but I've painted the actual armour itself with Macragge Blue, and then all we're going to be doing is shading both of these models. So one of them is going to be shaded where I'm only going to go into the creases and the details, and then the other one is going to be shaded how I usually do, where I splash the shade all over the show. So we're going to use Citadel Drakenhof Nightshade for this. What we're going to do initially is, this one is just going to be going around all of the edges on all of the details on the blue armour using the medium layer brush. And we're just going to get that into all of the details and darken them down, so that when you come to reapply the highlight or tidy it up, you're going to have those shaded recesses to make the details really stand out. Now this is ideal for doing, I find, on lighter colours, because you can do this on, say, Ultramarines, or the way I do it usually would be to splash the shade on, just completely coat the whole of the armour. But when you tend to do lighter colours, if you do that, do the shade all over the armour, you'll then have to take ages trying to cover that back up again. So for example, if you were doing the Lamenters, which is what I'm working on as well, they're that lovely shade of yellow, and then when you're using the Fugue and Orange to shade them, if you splash that shade all over the armour rather than just going into the creases, when you come to put the initial base coat, I'm using Avalanche Sunset, when you come to put that initial base coat back on, it's a lot harder to get it over the areas where the shade is. So you do want to try and keep it to the recesses when you're doing lighter colours, just to save you having to try and put layers and layers and layers back on. With the likes of red for me hasn't been too bad. You can actually use it quite well to shade it, and the more you put on, if you spread it all over the armour for example, then you can use that to darken the overall red and then put an extra layer of red on to lighten that up. Or you could just put it in the recesses and the shade areas and then just go over it once, and then you'll have those parts slightly darker. But definitely would recommend only going around the edges and the details on lighter coloured models. On blue like this, it's not too bad. The Macragge Blue's got really good coverage, so you can dive straight back in there and recolour it no problem if you just splash the Drakenhof Nightshade in there. I tend to do that with most colours anyway. It's only the lighter colours, the whites and the yellows, that I tend to try not to do that. So you can see here, we're coming to the end of the areas that we've got to shade. We've still got loads of that base coat that's untouched by the shade itself. Is the effect that I'm trying to go for here, is just to show you that you can just go around and do all the details if you want to, and leave the majority of the model, or the majority of the armour rather, shade free. Like so. So now on to the second one, using Drakenhof Nightshade again, and his armour has been painted with Citadel Macragge Blue before we start here. So on this one I'm just going to be using a lot of shade, doing what I usually do for darker models, which is to just put a load of that shade on there, spread it out so it covers all of the armour plating, not just the areas with the detail in. Now the benefit of doing it this way on ones where you can get away with it, like I definitely wouldn't do this on a lighter model, just because it takes so long to get that colour back up again if you're using yellows or lighter shades. But in the likes of this, where the Macragge Blue will cover it no problem, you can slap a lot of the shade on. Make sure you don't leave too much in the recesses where it pools and then it goes shiny. You really don't want that to happen. So if there's too much on there, once you've finished, you can just use the brush tip to absorb that back up, and then rinse and dry your brush, then absorb that once more. That's not a problem to do that. That's what I tend to do, just to pick out the bits where there's slightly too much shade on. But as you can see here, it takes a lot less time to do it this way. So if you're doing a lot of models and you're shading a lot of models, maybe doing a squad or something like that, you can save an absolute age when you're shading it in this way, because you can just slap that all on and then you'll have them done in no time. So you can see, compared to the previous one that we've just done, it doesn't take that much time at all to do it this way, like so. So you can see here that he has got quite a bit of shade pulled on him. So all I'm doing here is I'm using the brush to spread it around and try and even out some of that shade where it's pulled on his legs, and also just clean that brush tip and absorbing some of the extra shade there. All that does is, if you put too much shade on and it pools, if it pools too much, it will become shiny and you'll just have this little dark area that is shiny, so it will stand out and it doesn't look too good. So you always want to try and absorb the extra shade and just leave enough in the recesses that it's going to dry dark but not dry shiny. So if you get too much pool on there, just use one of your brushes and just absorb that back up again. So shading over, now I'm just going to show you what they all look like compared to Lord Macragge there, who hasn't had any shades put on at all. So the first one that we're looking at here, you've got Lord Macragge. He has no shades on him whatsoever, he is just that Macragge Blue. And then here you can see the guy where we've just gone around the details and put those details in with the shade. So it doesn't look too much different, you can just see the darkness in the recesses to make it stand out. And this is the guy where we've slapped loads of the shade on and it's darkened up all of the armour. You can really see a difference there. You can see the details stand out a lot too, which is what you want to have. And then here is my preferred method, the one on the right. And the guy on the left still has the details done, and it's the other way that you can shade them. So I'll cut to a little photo here, just showing you how the three of them look side by side. And that is the end of the shading. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also, think about subscribing to some of our other social media linked below. Thanks very much.